welcome to Tales from the Switch Vault, where I, Jim, look back at some of the weird and wonderful games from the Nintendo Switch. This time I hoover up all the moolah in Vostok Inc. Created by UK-based Nosebleed Interactive and published by Wired Productions, the game was released originally on PC and PS4 in July 2017. In the following month, the title made the jump to Xbox, with an eventual Switch release at the end of the year. Labelled as the Wolf of Wall Street in space, the core mechanic is a clicker game in which getting as much money as possible is key to winning. First and foremost though, this is a twin-stick shooter with you roaming around a 2D solar system. Players fly between planets to create buildings that generate money, or moolah as the game calls it. This money then can be reinvested into more buildings, upgrades, or improvements for your ship. Cash is crucial here, with the amount always rising. The early game means more frequent trips to planets to collect what has been built up. However, you are rarely standing still as there are asteroids flying around and enemy ships to fight. Initially it's just a few, which is not so bad, and you can still fly away if things get too hairy, but there are moments where it locks you into a small segment of space where you must destroy the enemies to escape. At times there are so many projectiles flying around it turns into a bullet hell. If you get blown up here or any other point, it puts you into a survival craft, and you must fly back to the space station to get back to your normal ship. Your spacecraft also has upgrades, most of which are pretty useful. Better weapons and radar options allow you to deal with aliens better and find what you need quicker. The crucial one though is actually the shield, which doubles as a booster to get around. This is actually a very cool mechanic, giving the player some risk-reward during firefights. Visually, I love the idea of a huge space adventure, and this works really well with the cartoon cutout design here. The planets look amazing and really pop against the dark, starry background. I also really like that the later made up planets with their weird colour designs that they have. There are also some great design choices here, like having the planet's trajectory not only shown on screen with a line, but the direction the planet is in clearly labelled. On the planets themselves, I really like the building designs, and how as you upgrade them they become more elaborate. It's a nice touch to add to all the extra money you're going to get there. The character designs are also quite interesting. Something South Park adjacent about them, but better in quality. Jimmy is 100% just Jonah Hill from The Wolf of Wall Street, sadly without the amusing profanity of the movie. The music really reminds me of a more chilled out Hotline Miami, which I really enjoyed. Toned down electronic beats in the background as you fly around, only building up when you're getting into a boss fight. Interestingly, for a sci-fi game, the shooting is more of a mechanical sound rather than the pew 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 you expect and as you hear from enemies. As you're encouraged to keep shooting, there's no ammo limit in game, to get big combos, the sound does start to grate a little, particularly if you get stuck in a fight where you are clearly under level and it takes you forever to get out of. Shoutouts to the power boost though, it's a very satisfying purr to it. Once you actually start making a bit of money, that financial loop quickly kicks in. It's frustrating at first, having to travel far between planets and being regularly interrupted by aliens attacking you. However, this is actually the formula that makes the game work. The time taken here is crucial to build up your money instead of you just waiting around. Eventually you can purchase an upgrade so the money is automatically collected without visiting the planet, by which this point it kicks up another level. The combat also breaks up the relative monotony of planet building. As you only click a button to build a building, there's not much strategy beyond figuring out which will give you the most money. Most fights you can just run from if you get bored or are about to die, but then there are forced combat fights, sometimes against a big boss that can easily take you out. This means you cannot escape combat forever. The bullet hell like fighting is actually quite a challenge, forcing you to concentrate and fly well. For the first couple of years there weren't many clicker games on Switch. Even now the options are not huge, with the excellent adventure game Forager or the recently released Cookie Clicker. My favourite is actually Pilot Quest from the game UFO 50. Most of these are about gaining multiple resources, but Vostok Inc keeps things simple in it just being about the money. There is just something about number goes up to pay for upgrades that then makes the number go up even more that's just such a good loop. Particularly on a handheld with secondary viewing. I've always wanted a game whereby you build up a physical gold reserve, just having piles of it in a vault. I'm yet to find that game, but this one does have the money going up into the quadrillions, which is a nice touch. I can only really think of Balatro scoring that comes close to this. The title runs super smooth on Switch 2, actually benefits greatly from the bigger screen, allowing you to keep a better eye on smaller enemies. I did notice a couple of stutters on Switch 1 when the enemy numbers got large, but it wasn't too much of an issue. Listed as about 13 hours to get through the game on how long to beat, I managed to double that on my first playthrough. There's a new game plus mode with half the bosses but not much else. I'm sure one time is enough for most people. The fact that it has only one save slot though is incredibly annoying. Vostok Inc was created by Nosebleed Interactive, a Newcastle game studio in the northeast of England. Formed in 2012, their first project was The Hungry Horde in 2014, a PS Plus title that had you controlling a group of zombies trying to infect everyone. Vostok was their next game, alongside being a work-for-hire group, porting titles such as West of Dead, Atomic Crops and Bad North to other consoles. Their most recent title was Arcade Paradise in 2022, a title set in a 1993 laundromat where the owner's son discovers a bunch of hidden arcade machines and attempts to use them to make more money than cleaning clothes ever did. Most interestingly, the studio has a diverse set of skills, working in broadcast TV, arts and education, alongside mobile apps and VR and AR. This flexibility in the current gaming climate seems essential to ensure a studio like this is an ongoing entity. Scoring a somewhat harsh 65 on Metacritic, Vostok Inc was praised for its clicker mechanics becoming a fun time sink. Others rightly complained it gets too repetitive later in the game, which is fair enough. Although it got no award nominations, the title sold over 500,000 copies on Steam alone, and is often on sale for a couple of pounds or dollars. There's a lot to be said for being a time and a place. I got a kick out of this game in 2020, though coming back to it now I find it a little lacking. Back then I was in a rut with games, stuck between shiny hunting and Pokemon, long-term Football Manager saves, and Black Forest co-op fights in Age of Empires 2. Vostok Inc was one of the titles to get me out of this funk. Easy zone out gaming whilst you watch something. As for criticism, there's a few. It has a real slow start, particularly as you won't know what buildings or upgrades to beeline for. I'm not a fan of the tutorial either, it stops you dead to teach you something every 30 seconds. My namesake Jimmy is also pretty annoying, but fortunately you can switch him off. The repetition is probably a killer for some people. New buildings just mean more money coming in quicker, rather than there's some fundamental game shift. Still, going into a new solar system is great to start from scratch and build up new planets. Look, this isn't the best game out there, but it really clicked with me in that moment, which I appreciate it for. There is also some challenge, and I'm always a fan of just leaving a device to the side and gaining a bunch of progress. The loop is fun and it's pretty cheap in sales, so it's worth a punt. It's enough for me to want to check out Arcade Paradise and just see how much the studio has grown. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe for more weekly Nintendo Switch video game essays. Right, time for me to make another quintillion.